What is going on with the state of Florida? Well, stick around because on this video, we're going to be talking with a top authority in several markets in the Florida area, and we're getting to it right now.
All right.
Okay, so today I have the pleasure of including someone else. Yeah, you don't have to just stare at my mug all day long. Including somebody else on my video. He is the president, he's the broker of Global Realty, which is in 3 different markets in the state of Florida. He's had this company for over 30 years. It's not just a real estate company, it's also property management. But he has seen many ebbs and flow in the Orlando and the Florida markets in general. So I've asked him to come on today to kind of give you some feedback in general on the real estate market in Florida, because it has been a very interesting couple of years. So I'm going to introduce Guy Bouchard. So welcome, Guy.
Well, thank you very much, June. And I'm excited to be on your exciting channel. I'm also, still very bullish on Florida. The stat that I've quoted for many moons is, Florida grows at 1,000 people a day and Central Florida grows at 1,000 a week. So we have a huge influx of people. And as you know, I recently sent out an email showing that article that showed that 25% of Americans would like to move currently, and where they wanted, Redfin did the study, and they said of those 10 major cities that people want to move to, Florida had 5 of them. And Orlando, Tampa, Southwest Florida were all in markets that people, and Miami was also one of the ones mentioned. So people still want to come to Florida. Obviously on the negative side, we just had a massive hurricane, and we still are unsure of the impacts of that to our insurance industry. Our insurance industry was already experiencing some, major struggles right now because with the laws we have here were a little bit too favorable for the consumer and was running some of the insurance companies out of the state, and rates were going up a little bit. But they just had a special session, literally, I think yesterday or the day before, trying to resolve it, and they're continuing to work on the issue. As we talked about, there are some positives and negatives to Florida, but I'm still very bullish on the state. I think that we have great opportunities. We still have very affordable markets. What else do you want to ask me, June?
Well, for myself, what I get, if I get 10 calls, 8 of them are for short-term rental properties, but that's in Orlando. So residential has definitely slowed down quite a bit. So I know you're in some other key markets, and maybe, you're in an area that I've talked about quite a bit, which is that Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte area. And I know that besides short-term rental, because I know there's some great opportunities in the area for that, there's some other great opportunities for investors in long-term and mid-term. So if you wanted to hit on that a little bit in your
especially right now, again, so right now we have a little bit of a national slowdown, right? I mean, everybody's reading the press everywhere. The interest rates are higher. And we have, prices reducing. What I see in Orlando is we saw some, stuff starting to sit on the market a little bit longer, some price reductions, which we haven't seen in years. Down here, I'm in Punta Gorda and Charlotte County, the Port Charlotte Harbor area. And, we saw down here was the lower end was starting to get a little bit stagnant and seeing some price decreases on listings. And then the higher end was still smoking hot. And now that actually started to cool a little bit. But, what I feel, and, you just, we're part of a transaction where a national builder gave $80,000 discount on a new construction home. So the national builders are sitting on some inventory. Some of the people that bought those homes no longer qualify for the mortgages because the interest, down here it's taking as much as a year to get a permit in some of the areas we're backlogged. So, it's taking anywhere from 9 months to 2 years, 3 years to build a house, depending on if it's a custom home, a production home. So some of these homes, were purchased a long time ago, and the situation has changed for the buyer. So I'm seeing where there's going to be some I think right now there's some really good opportunities, and I think there continue to be some great opportunities on the lower end for people to buy long-term rentals. The other thing is, and we can, again, well, I think we're going to do another video talking more about the impact of the hurricane, but I can tell you that down here we were, it was a pretty heavy storm, and there was some homes that were, everybody's heard about Fort Myers and Sanibel, but it goes beyond that. Fort Myers itself, downtown, Cape Coral got hit hard. So there's a lot of people that need housing. So, we were seeing the rents jump staggering here around Punta Gorda. Stuff that was $1,200-1,500 a couple of years ago was already at like $2,000. Now we're seeing $2,500, $3,000 on stuff. So, and again, there's still brand new homes. As you know, you recently sold a new production home for 4-bedroom for around $300,000. So, the numbers really make a lot of sense. So you're almost at that magic 1%. So anyway, so that's on the long term, that's where I see the opportunity. Orlando obviously has very similar opportunities, where production builders are sitting on some, some of the lower end of the market. And then obviously on the short-term rental, we're still very bullish on Orlando. I mean, it's the world's #1 attraction, biggest vacation rental market in the world. We've been in it for 30 years. So there's, I always tell people there's a percentage of the market that it would be more investor oriented. And then there's the rest of it, it's a lot, I would say more second home oriented. And then down here, same thing. We have anything from, probably $400,000 home with a pool all the way to $1.5 million, where we can make the numbers make pretty good sense for a vacation rental. We had a couple of homes that had $50,000, $70,000 several month bookings this year. So, those are big numbers, and it doesn't take long to make some decent returns at. Those were big, nice homes. But anyways, I won't go too into the micro with that, but, you and I can obviously help anybody interested in learning more about, what kind of return they can expect on different things. But so it's really a matter of what people want, to me, it's always about trying to fulfill what people's goals are.
So, you said 30 years you've been in property management. So you were in property management before there was an Airbnb. So how did that all come about? I mean, what did that look like 30 years ago versus today?
Pretty funny, yeah. So Orlando is the other great thing about Orlando is that the product and the management has evolved quite a bit. Now that we're in Southwest Florida and seeing what's down here, it's a very different animal. So what I mean is, when I first started in Orlando, we were mixing residential units with short-term rental and had very little amenities. Now these new resorts in Orlando typically have man-gated entrances. They're exclusively short-term rental. They have huge clubhouses with, massive amenity packages with restaurants, food and beverage, Olympic pools. Some have flow riders, some have lazy rivers. These are, so when I started in the business 30 years ago, it was kind of, you choose between a resort hotel where you have horrible accommodations and, parents are sleeping next to their kids in the hotel room, or you had this great house, but you had no amenities, and now the vacation home has evolved in Orlando to the point where it's very mature, and some of the homes, generate enormous amounts of income. But again, the scale is always, you can get anything from a 2-bedroom condo that's relatively inexpensive, but your best returns typically are in pool homes, and especially the ones with big bedroom counts, 6, 8, 10 bedrooms. Down here, it reminds me of very much, Southwest Florida reminds me of what Orlando was like 30 years ago. Most of our products in homes that scattered around permanent resident communities. Charlotte County, it's great because they knew it was a second home market. So they pretty much is unrestricted on, you can do nightly, weekly, any type of rentals. The interesting thing about that is some of the subdivisions, and especially the multifamily townhouses and condos, really restrict the rental. So the city or the government doesn't restrict it, but the, community by community, you got to know which ones allow what. Some of our condos have 1 month minimum, meaning you can't rent for less than a month, and some have 3-month minimums. And so it's a different market down here. You're mixed in with permanent residents. There's advantages, disadvantages to both scenarios. But really, to me, this market is much more of a second home. Typically, as a buyer, somebody wants to spend time down here, boating, beach type atmosphere. I call it Florida's final frontier. There's, it's the last affordable water market, coastal market in Florida, and there's just great opportunities in my mind, all around here.
So what's the sweet spot house do you find, in what price range and what size? Like if you were to...
Yeah, so if I was going to say Orlando first, I would say, that 8 to 10 bedroom seems to be the sweet spot. Really can perform, we're talking $100,000 to $150,000 gross income. You got to pay to play though. Those homes, the good ones you're going to be paying probably $600,000 to $1 million or more. In Orlando. Down here, the magic bullet is a 4-bedroom. We just don't have any. So the majority of the inventory in Charlotte County is 2 and 3 bedrooms. If we were going to build, which again, that's one of our goals, I would definitely start introducing some more, maybe some 6 bedrooms. The other thing in Orlando that I want to introduce down here that we haven't got to yet is, almost every home in Orlando has a game room with either a pool table or home theater in the garage. Some people have multiple arcade games. There's a bunch of different amenities. And to me, again, I'll just quickly mention, if you're going to buy a short-term rental anywhere in the country, the key is to have a differentiator, have something that makes your home stand out over the other ones. We've seen that over and over again. My son sold a home and they put multiple arcade games in it. Very unique in Orlando in that, somewhat that under $1 million mark. The big multi-million homes have that, and that home looks like crazy. So, having this market's just, it's fun because it's still a bit of a virgin market, even though it's very mature. The majority of the management companies are mom and pop, and they, don't have the relationships like we do with Marriott, Air Canada, Google, all the people. We've got like 100 channel partners that we get bookings from. So we're kind of we got our teeth cut in Orlando and now bringing that expertise down here. So we need to do that with the product. So, we'd like to help the product evolve down here. But yeah, it's a great market, and there's just, we're very, very thrilled with the demand for bookings down here.
Awesome. So you're also moving up into that Ocala market. So what was the draw in that area? Some
partnerships. We have partnership with a builder up there, and the brokers, they felt like they wanted a brokerage arm with that builder. And there's the World Equestrian Center going in Ocala, which is $1 billion project, and there's tons of wealth move. They're turning the Ocala airport into an international airport, so these people can fly their horses to races all over the world. So it's a big, the horse community is a very, very wealthy community. There's a lot of big estates being built up there, and there's a lot of the same thing we see in Orlando. Is there's a lot of like Amazon in that whole trend towards industrial space, and that whole Central Florida from Ocala through like Winter Haven, Orlando, the Western Belt. We see tons of these big warehouses being built. The Krogers, the Amazons, the Best Buys. All these guys find that center spike down the state is really good for logistics to move their product all over the states. So in Ocala, they have a huge need for housing. They have an enormous amount of people moving there as well, and they need a lot of new construction. And there's a lot of people that can't afford to buy all the time. So for investors, there's opportunities to buy either older homes and fix them up, or new construction and put long-term tenants in them. We haven't really done the short-term in that market yet, but there is the Villages, which is right nearby, actually has a huge short-term presence. So we'll get into that market.
Yeah. Great. So overall, you don't see Florida slowing down as far as people moving here, vacationing, what have you, do you?
Yeah. So you know what? The quote I've been saying the last couple of weeks is, we were just at the Gaylord Pines this week. They have an incredible ice sculpture show, and they had Cirque du Soleil in there. And I remember when the downturn hit the financial crisis, which was a real estate crisis as well, and it was like 2007, 2008. And there was an article in the Orlando Sentinel, and they said, "Are you guys concerned about the economy?" And they said, "We're not on a 3 to 5 year plan. We're on a 20 to 30 year plan." And that place has been rock solid booked nonstop ever since they built it. So, I see Florida the same way. Yeah, we're in a blip in the market. I mean, some markets across the country. You can't look at the U.S. anymore as one market. Florida by itself is the 11th biggest economy in the world. I think California is number 7. I mean, we need to start looking at, the Northeast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and the Southeast, and even Florida by itself. And Florida is I'm totally bullish on it because you have, the work from home movement, which, if I grew up in Minnesota, there's no way I would live there. If I had the opportunity to work from home, I'm moving to Florida or somewhere in the warm Sun Belt. There's only so much snow you want to shovel. So, the cost of living is cheap down here. There's no state taxes. The homes are still affordable. So when 25% of the country says they want to move and a ton of those people say they want to move to Florida, those are just hard stats. You can't argue with. Florida's going to grow. Yeah, it may slow down for a little while, and we may have, which is an opportunity, right? So a good real estate player makes money in all markets. And, this is going to be, right now we're in a market where I think it's a great opportunity for investors to pick up some real estate. And, I think it's going to be for a little while. And then I think we're going to jump right back on that bandwagon. I mean, the other stats that I hear is we're a couple million units short still nationally. So, we got to make that up. So, yeah, once these interest rates start coming back down, and you're already seeing that this week. So, they're not doing a lot of mortgages, so they got to drop the rates so there's money to lend. So, I just see this as a temporary opportunity, not a long-term, situation.
Well, thank you so much, Guy, for your time. And today we were talking about the impacts of our last 2 hurricanes that were pretty much back to back, and what that looked like in the state of Florida and how we're moving on. But if that's not really what you were looking for today, well, reach out and let us know, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to bring any information that you need. So remember, if you're thinking about moving to Orlando, Florida, or you're thinking about investing in this area, please send us a text, give us a call, send us an email, however you wish to connect, because we got you covered when it comes to moving to Orlando and Central Florida. And we will see you on the next video. Bye for now.
Thank you.